I took off for a jump and my Achilles went ba-bum.
I think for people who are in the middle of training, how do you even go about processing that?
We'll find a way. I always say that, just we'll find a way. This will sound absolutely ridiculous to people listening, but I'm actually glad my Achilles snapped.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
I have learned...
Shut the front door! What are you talking about?
When this calf is ready, I'll be back training, and I've still made that progress, but those setbacks are simply that. They're setbacks. They're not the end.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of I Can Run a Marathon with me, Ebba B. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, and if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, give us a follow. That would be lovely. Thank you very much. So don't forget as well, by this time there's a whole load of episodes now that you can listen to. So if you are going out on your long run anytime soon, mate, you can get through about 3 or 4 of these things. You can take us the whole way there. It's amazing. It's great. People like Nell McAndrew, people like Ailish McColgan as well, with loads of tips and advice to help you, to help me with our running. And we are now in March, which means we can say the marathon is next. Who wrote this? Last week I said we were going to get rid of the countdown because it was making me anxious, and now we've just replaced it with something that's going to make me more anxious. It's in a while. The marathon's in a while. Don't sweat the small stuff, okay? So listen, this week we're going to go back to 119 Days to Go, so Chris Evans's book. And this week he is advising, and Doc Yelling is advising, that we need to start thinking about some admin stuff, right? So pre-race day routines, how we're going to stay calm. Kate Roham's advice last week about how to manage the nervous wheeze at the start line. Getting your kit ready so that you don't forget anything silly on the day. Practice doing that. Packing the right quantities of fuel and hydration. And as well, some of the fun stuff like, where are you going to stay in London for the London Marathon? Have you booked somewhere overnight? If you're coming down on the train, or if you're driving, where are you going to park? Have you got your train tickets? Also, are you going to treat yourself to a carb up the night before? Where are you going to do that? What are you going to? Who are you going to be with? Are you going to go for a beer? A nice healthy drink after the marathon? If so, where are you going to meet people? Where are you going to do that? This is the kind of the nice bits, right? The nice bits that don't involve running so much, but all the bits that go with it. And they're crucial. They're absolutely crucial. So this is the week to start thinking about stuff like that. And actually, this week has been a really good week for me to get some of that nailed, because I've not run all week. I hadn't run for 10 days after my tiny bit of surgery that I had a week or so ago, which was nothing to do with running. It was a gynecological thing. Spare you the details, but I'm fine and it's okay. But it was surgery, so you have to take it easy, and I did, enforced recovery. So back on my feet, feeling strong, feeling super rested, having done a bit of running marathon admin. I went out for a run on, so it's Thursday today when this is out. I went for a run on the Monday, and then I was very nervous, and I didn't like it, and I had a little cry and thought to myself, well, that's it, I'm totally screwed. I'm not going to be able to do this at all. And then had another few days rest, and then went out 2 days later and did quite a strong 5K, and the sun was shining. And man, does the sun make a difference. Yeah. It's making all the difference. And I ran quite a strong 5K, and it's only 5. And I know that's at this stage of proceedings is a drop in the ocean, but I felt good and I felt strong. And so as you find me today, I'm kind of feeling like I'm back in the game, and maybe that this is still entirely possible. So we're just going to keep going. Interestingly, if it's of any help to anybody that's in a similar position, I've thrown away my app that I was running with, because it just kept telling me that I needed to catch up, and it kept sort of reprogramming the sessions. So like on some days I was running like 26 miles, so 3 lots of however many miles on 4 training sessions, which is ridiculous. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to rely on this a little bit more. I'm not running with a watch, so I'm not running with time at the moment. I know several of my routes. So I've got a 5K route, I've got a 10K route, I've got a half marathon route. And I'm going to feel my way for the next couple of weeks. I think I will be back on time, and I will be back on, a bit more of a structured approach. But for now, feeling confident, feeling strong, not hurting myself is absolutely the most important thing for me. And it's been really nice to do that. So I don't know if that's helpful. I'm very glad of it. But if you are getting to that point where things are starting to hurt a bit, maybe just, take it back a bit and go and enjoy yourself. The sun's out. So I'm very excited about today, because today's guest, well, look, if you needed some inspiration in dealing with setbacks, I just knew he would be absolutely perfect for today's episode. His entire last few years have been about building resilience and coming back stronger. He's not a marathon runner. He's not a runner at all. He's never likely to run a marathon. Well, so he thinks at the moment anyway. But he is an incredibly fit and strong principal dancer with the world-renowned Royal Ballet here in London. And at the peak of his career, on stage in front of 2,500 people, he snapped his Achilles heel. Could have been a career-ending injury, but it wasn't for him. And you may have seen a BBC documentary about him and his amazing rehabilitation and the story of his return to the stage, which he did. It's the incredible Steven McRae.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, well, look, this is, everyone's going to go, what? You've got a principal dancer on a marathon podcast? But the reasons for me asking you to come on our podcast will become very apparent. But just take us back to that moment. You've done this. Do you still get a little bit of trauma when you have to retell this story?
I think going back and being able to comfortably replay something like that was traumatic can actually be therapeutic. Okay. And you can learn from that. You can't change it. You can't go back in time. You can't, reset it all. But I've actually found, I guess, some power and strength in being able to comfortably re-see and re-envisage what happened. So I was in the middle of the Royal Opera House stage, 2,500 people, alone in the middle of that stage, living my best life. I'd had some procedures on my Achilles because I'd been struggling with it. So this performance was the first performance back. And it was the end of Act 2. What was the ballet? Manon by Sir Kenneth Macmillan.
Beautiful
so nice
ballet.
Big drama, big role. And at the end of Act 2, I took off for a jump. It wasn't the biggest jump in the world. It was just a small one. And my Achilles went, boom. It snapped fully. A full rupture.
Oh, my God.
In the middle of the Royal Opera House stage. If you want to really relive all of this, you can watch Dancing Back to the Light on the BBC iPlayer. It was horrific. I have 3 children at home. At the time, my children were 4, 2, and 5 weeks old. And your whole life that you've devoted to this art form. I grew up in Australia, moved to London age 17. So you've already sacrificed your home country, your family. You've devoted everything, and you've built this new life pretty much surrounded and engulfed by this profession. And then you're laying on the Royal Opera House stage thinking that it's all just being taken away from you at the click of a finger. And an Achilles rupture in any walk of life is not great.
No.
As a dancer, it's pretty much catastrophic. So there had not been many cases of people, especially at a principal level, returning. So, of course, the fear was all-consuming and horrific, but thankfully found a way back.
And how old are you at this point as well?
So it's 2019, so I was 33.
So Achilles heel, you're 33, which If you don't mind me saying, at that stage, you're a way into your career at that point.
Absolutely. And traditionally in the world of dance, especially classical ballet, I guess turning 30 is kind of a big moment, because many people say 30, that's when you're going to peak. This is your moment. This is your time. And then I was met with all these horrific injuries, and it was infuriating, because obviously I had been listening to all these comments of you're meant to be peaking now and this is your moment and it's only going to go downhill. And then suddenly I have to learn how to walk again, let alone try and dance again. So yeah, it was physically, I can't even begin to explain the complexity and the difficulty and all those challenges. I guess people can use their imagination, but the mental aspect for me, I think, has been almost more grueling. Yeah. And this will sound absolutely ridiculous to people listening, but I'm actually glad my Achilles snapped.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
I have learned...
Shut the front door! What are you talking about?
I have learnt so much, obviously, about myself, about my profession, just general well-being, things about my art form and the culture around it that I really want to be behind, making really positive, important changes, finding out, just little things, whether it's the way we work daily, the way we construct our months, our seasons, how a young dancer is spoken to at a school, which obviously puts things into their minds of how they approach their entire career. And if I hadn't gone through this complete upheaval, I wouldn't have experienced or learnt many of those things that are now influencing the way I approach it all.
And so this is, I think, where the first comparison between your profession in the world of professional ballet and the running world collide for the first time. So I think it would be safe to say for most people listening who are training for the marathon this time around, that all of their programs, whether you are a fun runner or a rookie runner like me or an elite trainer, and you're going to be smashing 3 hours, that strength training is now an absolute priority for every runner on every level. It's built into all the programs. If you're going to have some, PT work, or you're just following something online, if you're using the marathon training program, every program now has some strength training in it. And that is possibly only the last 10 years, maybe even only the last 5 years, that has been given such focus. And before that, endurance. How long, how far, how much more can you give? Just keep running. It's all about the miles. And that rings true a little bit for ballet, doesn't it? In that,
more is more.
More is more. I mean, how you
and
were,
it's not.
And it's not. And take us through a general, sort of when you were training, when you were 19, 20 years old, and you were first in the company. What does a day, what does a week, and what does a week of performances look like?
So the big classical ballet companies are a little bit like the military in terms of a hierarchy. So there are ranks. So when you join, you're in what's called the quarter ballet. So that's the big group. And they're the backbone of every company. They're the ones that can make or break a performance. Doesn't matter how good your central stars are, the quarter ballet make it. And so the quarter ballet, the age range, 18, 19 through to whatever age you want to be. They could be in the building at 9:30 in the morning. They'll be doing either Pilates or whatever, your morning ballet class, and they'll be rehearsing all day because we do multiple productions at the same time. So rehearsals will go till 5:30. And then performance will start at 7:30, obviously go till 10:30. So it's easily over a 12-hour day.
Wow.
And it's a physical profession. There are some short breaks thrown in there, but we're not talking leisurely lunches and things like this. It's a quick 15-minute break, fuel, get back in, do the next ballet, next production. You've obviously got costume fittings and all sorts of things thrown in amongst that day. And that can easily be 6 days a week. I mean, every dancer is always in that building. And that's the culture of it. As you rise in the ranks, your workload starts to vary because a lot of the lead roles, it is like running a marathon.
Yeah.
You shouldn't run a marathon every single day. It's not good for you, for
yeah,
your health,
yeah.
physically, mentally. And that's the reality. It can be like running a marathon when you do the lead role. So, of course, it's not ideal to have the principals on every single night.
Sure.
So that workload changes. If you are going to do the lead role that evening, you're probably not going to rehearse all day as well.
Of course.
You wouldn't run a marathon before a marathon, or at least you shouldn't.
No. We're tapering. We're tapering from
exactly.
Next couple of weeks. We're tapering, but by the time that you get to where you were in Manon, by the time you get to lead role status, you've had 5 or 6 years, if you're lucky to get to where you got to, and you managed to break through to those really elite positions. You've had your body's taken a real pounding by that point as well.
Yeah, and I mean, most dancers who enter that world, particularly in the classical world, have probably at a young age started training quite a lot.
Yeah.
I was training 7 days a week when I was a kid. I went to a normal academic school. I didn't go to a vocational school for ballet, but I was after school always dancing, and it was purely driven by me. I loved it. Like, I was never forced to do it. Then, of course, when you become professional, the reality is that's your job. You're paid to do that. And you're young, you just want to do as much as you can, you want to please everybody, you want to climb the ranks, you say yes to everything. And when you are really young, I think you have no concept, and rightly so, you have no concept of the longevity of what toll is this taking on me physically, and I say it again, mentally.
Yeah.
You have this energy when you're young that it's easy just to say yes, and might be tired, but you bounce back so quickly. And then it starts to eventually catch up on you. And I realized once my wife and I started having children, I really quickly realized the one thing that I used to rely on so much was sleep. And obviously, any parent listening to this realizes that's gone.
How do you do what you... That's okay. That's a different conversation. All right.
I mean, my wife's the superhuman here.
She's
amazing. Was the
amazing.
one who gave birth 3 times and got back on stage constantly. So it was the two of us both still performing with these young babies, toddlers around the house, which you quickly realize why sleep deprivation was a form of torture, because it really is. And I'm sure every parent is laughing listening to this. But
no, absolutely. And I think that, so for, I had this setback 10 days ago now. And, and I'll, being told you're going into surgery in 2 hours, and I'm kind of going, no, I have a podcast to do. I've got a podcast, and
how's that affecting my training?
I've got 14 miles to run on Saturday. You don't understand. And they're like, "Now, what are you talking about, you loony? You're really ill. You need to go and do this now." And it's a really common story for people training for the marathon, and I think that's why we wanted to share it. It would be really disingenuous to have not shared it. That things happen. People train really hard. They break ankles. They get sick. Somebody dies. Your Achilles snaps on stage in front of 2,500 people. And when you're lying there on the stage, going through your head is that there is a real possibility that your entire life is about to change.
Oh, absolutely. When you're I feel sorry for some of the audience because our curtain at the Royal Opera House is not soundproof. So unfortunately, a lot of the stalls could hear me behind the curtain screaming and unfortunately probably saying some very colourful language.
In the Royal Opera House?
In the Royal Opera House, yes. And you lay there and of course you're overwhelmed with a whole tidal wave of emotions, because when you perform, you're obviously full of adrenaline, it's pumping through you. Then of course if a major injury like that occurs, the adrenaline is still pumping through you, but then you're washed with all of this fear, anger. I was so angry. I was like, why now, why, what, like,
and I think that's something that that a lot of people, I certainly was I was really, I mean, I think I swore a lot that weekend, and I was really mean to my other half, and I threw a few things, and I cried a lot. And I think that's something as well. I think for people who are listening, who are in the middle of training, we're all just past halfway now. You know, for things to happen at this stage, of your career, there's all those questions. Why now? Why me? Why is that anger? How do you even go about processing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, for example, so after I'd returned from my Achilles and I was back on stage for another good 2.5 years, thinking, wow, this is amazing, got back. Then I unfortunately snapped my knee, my ACL, my lateral ligament, my meniscus. They all went bang on stage again in the middle of the Royal Opera House stage. Returned from that, got back on stage, and which is remarkable. You've got new Achilles, really new knee. It's fine. We'll find a way. I always say that. Just we'll find a way. And then actually just 3 weeks ago, I was preparing to do Giselle at the Royal Opera House and do it live in cinemas around the world, doing one of my final run-throughs, happy with how the knee was doing, Achilles is all doing fine, had a whole series of additional little surgeries over the last 12 months and injections in every part of the body. That is the profession. I'm not saying it to be like, woe is me. That's the reality. You've got these challenges and you've got to tackle them. And right at the end of this run-through, I felt in my calf on the other leg a pop.
Oh, God.
And so unfortunately, I tore my soleus, which is part of your calf. And so it's wiped me out. So I have unfortunately not been able to do Giselle. And that kind of setback after all of that with the Achilles and the knee and this and that and blah, blah, blah. I actually, for the first time, and I've never said this no matter what the challenges are, I actually said, this feels unfair. Yeah. And I hate to say that because who am I to say that that's unfair? There is so much going on in the world and God knows people are dealing with stuff every second of the day. But I genuinely just thought this one feels... like I felt anger like I've not really felt before. And this will sound odd, but I took comfort in knowing I genuinely had done everything that I possibly could have done to get to the point that I was at when unfortunately this setback occurred. And I think people listening to this need to remember that, whether that's you've embarked on a strength training program or you're setting these targets and, maybe you've achieved them or maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you're thinking, I'm nowhere near those targets. All the work you're doing, no one can take that away from you. And even if these big injuries occur, and some of you listening, maybe you won't actually make it to the marathon this year, but you will next year or the year after, or even if you don't actually ever do the marathon, all that work you've done, it's in your pocket. It's added so much to you, even if it's just purely from a health perspective. You've added years to your lives because of the dedication and the discipline that you've displayed to do that. So I've tried to take comfort in that. Was I angry? Was I screaming and shouting? Did I shed tears? Absolutely. We're all human, and I've learnt that actually my vulnerability can be a superpower. But I've taken a lot of comfort in knowing that work it hasn't gone wasted. When this calf is ready, I'll be back training, and I've still made that progress. I'll have to ease back into it, of course. But those setbacks are simply that. They're setbacks. They're not the end.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? And I know it can sound a bit trite and throwaway, but last night I did. I went out for a 5K on my own. Had my AirPods in, and it was a strong 5K, which is nothing in comparison to what I've been running. But the sun was shining and my body felt good. And there's that it's almost like, the path has to be enough. The path has to be enough.
Yep.
It has to. You have to do this because you love it. You have to class.
Yep.
And that part of it as much as the performance. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
And you have to find joy in the challenge.
Yes. Yeah.
The joy just can't be because, that felt easy and I loved it.
Yeah.
You have to find the joy in, right, okay, that's my strength training program, and I know it's going to be torture and painful and whatever, but you've got to find the joy in it somehow, and that joy is it's helping you make the stepping stones to wherever it is you want to go to. I say that to young dancers around the world when they get so disgruntled when something's not happening, or they can't do certain pirouettes, or whatever they're doing, they get so down about it.
Very much so.
And I say to them, you've got to try and find the joy in not always trying to solve every problem, because we can't solve every problem, but the joy is that you are going back day after day after day to find those tiny little improvements and to deal with what's being served your way. So today, this is not functioning and I can't use that leg and this and this and this, but I'm here, I've shown up. That's the big part of it every single day. What can I get out of this today? Yeah.
And it feels kind of, I guess, so easy. Not so easy, but it's the win of wisdom, having been through it, and dealing with your. I can't believe you've done that to your calf, you absolute melon. Yeah. And there's so feeling better equipped mentally, physically to deal with that this time around. When you're finally taken off the stage, and you've established that no, this isn't the end. Was that instant? Did you was that an instant, or was there a period where you kind of contemplated not dancing anymore?
Well, initially, so there was a very quick turnaround. We're lucky that our medical team have a wonderful relationship with a group of surgeons. So
who you all know by name, and their mums and dads and families and where they live.
I've got an express card into surgery now. But I think within 20 minutes of it snapping, the surgeon had already advised the team, put him in a boot. We'll scan him tomorrow morning. I'll assess him tomorrow, and we'll have a plan in place.
But in your head, what was happening?
In my head, that's it. It's done. It's over. It's all finished. Thankfully, my director, Kevin O'Hare, at the Royal Ballet, was the one who said to me, no. We'll get you back onto this stage and you'll dance again on this stage.
He said that to you
that
night?
That within the 20 minutes.
Wow.
So,
that's
of
really
course,
profound.
I had that panic moment of this is all over. But already it helped flick that switch of, okay, it's happened. If I want to go back on this stage, which of course...
That's what you do.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. But throughout this process, you don't know how you're going to feel about situations, and it's okay if you do change how you feel about that. But at that point I said, right, well, I'm making this decision, so I'm going to get back on this stage. So now what happens? As opposed to just being engulfed with that anger and that frustration. Yeah. It kept hitting me in waves the next days, weeks, months, years. It's like when the calf happened 3 weeks ago, you get hit by this complete... it's like an outer body wave of frustration. You can't even explain it in words. And I kept getting that with the Achilles, but because I had decided I will go back on that stage, you kind of teach your brain not to shut off that part, but to just say to the brain, it's okay to feel that way, but it doesn't have to define this journey.
Yeah.
You're wanting to go back on stage. There's no guarantee you're going to go back on stage, but you've got to have that belief that you will do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to doubt every single step.
The reason for everything.
Exactly.
Why am I here? And so take us through a little bit of the rehabilitation, Stephen, for people who are maybe who've had setbacks. And number one, if you are listening and you have sprained an ankle, or you've something's not feeling right, or you're not having a great time of it, just please go and get yourself checked out. Number one, okay, get some professional advice so that you have some kind of professional, educated structure to get back on your feet, quite literally. When somebody like you and your Achilles tendon snaps. So take us through a little bit of that rehabilitation. Somebody, your team, get that program together. Is that? I know it was years.
Yeah.
Okay, how many days a week? How many hours? What does that look
unfortunately,
like?
when the Achilles snapped, well, it took me a year to walk.
Oh my good Lord.
To walk properly, it took a year.
What does that do to your heart and your head when you're a dancer? And this is what you do, and you've got to learn to walk.
Yeah, and I've realised how much of my... just who I am as a person, I'm not talking as a dancer, but just as a person, is wrapped up in being physical.
Yeah.
And that's, whether I'm just talking, I'm always using my arms, or, if I'm joking around with my kids, I'm goofing around in a physical way. Yeah. So that was a huge psychological challenge to deal with that. But what made it more complicated was it 3 months after I'd snapped it, so I was nowhere near being able to walk properly yet. The whole world went into lockdown. It was COVID.
Wow. Yeah, of course. Oh my word.
And so that was the time when I would have started working properly with the medical team, having physical treatment. Like, you have to break down scar tissue, and you have to mobilize everything, and you have to you need the hands-on physical contact. And I couldn't have it. We were locked in at home, so I was doing rehab via Zoom with my 3 children. I was using them as weights and all sorts of stuff. And it just became even more frustrating because you felt like you were just hitting a wall all the time. It was extraordinary what we were able to achieve in that time. And then when the football club started to get permission to go back in and train, we were given the same access. So those of us who had big injuries could work with the medical teams at the Royal Opera House. But a whole year to be able to walk comfortably, and then it was 2 years to the day basically that I got back on stage, but I didn't actually do proper ballet until the last 6 months of that.
Okay.
So 18 months was learning to walk again, learning to just trust the leg again, and then rebuilding the whole leg, all the strength.
Yeah.
And then I had to go into the studio and say, okay, it's not that I'd forgotten how to dance, but I had to say, can I dance with this new leg? Because it's not the leg I trained with. It's not that Achilles is not mine. It's a new one.
Yeah.
And I had to work a lot with the team to change that wording of, no, this is my leg. This is what it is now.
Yeah.
And work with what you've got now. You're not going to be the dancer you were 2 years ago. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's just you're a different dancer now.
Yeah.
And that is also, sounds corny, but that's also a beautiful thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's absolutely fine. It's you're not your stocks and shares of your own value haven't gone up or down. It's just that's the situation now.
I love the way you said that's amazing. And there's if you've ever, and there, if you want to, a lot of this is online and part of Dancing Back to the Light and Resilient Man, and it was there are some beautiful moments, and after all this hard work, and this is you kind of after all this hard work and this huge upheaval, this massive mountain that you've had to climb, and the support of people that you've been dancing with for years and years and years, there are some really beautiful parts about coming back into the studio for the first time and getting through rehearsals, and you must have felt hugely supported and loved, and there were some great moments there.
Yeah, it's always a terrifying thing, though, I think, when, many people listening to this, no matter what field you work in, will understand when I say the opinions of your colleagues matter so much to you.
Yeah, they do.
And, of course, when we walk onto that stage, there's 2,500 people in the audience where I feel a huge responsibility. It's my job to take them away somewhere and to give them an evening that helps them tackle whatever life is throwing at them.
Sure.
That's my job as an artist, as a performer. But there is also the selfish element that you still want to succeed and be proud of yourself as well.
Yeah.
And I guess having what you think is an incredibly critical eye watching you, that's your colleagues. You want the approval of those people. And I think walking into those settings highlighted to me that I am allowed to be vulnerable, I don't have to be superhuman. I'm allowed to make mistakes. But I mean, that takes the thickest of leather skin to be able to do that. And I'm obviously at a position of my life, I guess 3 kids in will do that to you, where I actually prefer to show the vulnerabilities. I don't feel the need to just look like I've got it all sorted out, because none of us do.
I honestly, but I think this is so precious for you to say that. It's so precious because, you know, if you take on something like the marathon, you know, you've got to say it out loud at some point. You've got to say it out loud at some point. And at that point, the first couple of reactions are, oh, it's going to ruin your knees. The second reaction is, are you mad? I didn't know you were a runner. I'm not. And
not yet.
Not yet. Well, I am a runner now. I am a runner. Reframe. And you know, and then I think a lot of people at this point, halfway, you know, from the feedback we're getting, are starting to stop because the miles are really ramping up. And you start talking about running 14, 15 miles. It's a long way. It's a really, really, really long way.
Yeah.
And I think you know, we've tried to create this space where you kind of go, mate, if you are feeling totally defeated this week, it is completely fine.
Yeah.
Because there is a pressure, because whether or not you're doing a blooming podcast and you're on a national radio station telling everybody, or you're on a stage every night where people have paid hundreds of pounds to come and see you, you know, there is, for the vast majority of people, you've told your family, you've told your friends, you're asking them to
and yourself.
yourself. And there's pressure because you had it in your head that this is what it was going to look like.
Yep.
And you know, can you sponsor me? And there is, and the vast majority of people don't like having the spotlight on them in that respect, but there is that pressure. And I think it is so precious for somebody like you as a professional in that world to be able to say, no, sometimes I feel terrible about this, sometimes I don't feel strong, sometimes I don't feel that I can do it. And we were talking earlier, which was really exciting in a kind of twisted sort of way, was that I was asking you whether or not, because we have a lot of people chatting as well about going, God, when will this get any easier? When will this get any easier? So, you know, and that you were saying, no, it's the same with us. There are performances where I feel like my legs are lead and I can't do what I need to do. Tell me a bit about that. Is that's regular, like us who are getting out for 5, 10, 15k the whole time?
Yeah, and it goes back to just reminding ourselves that we're human, and there are so many factors that have an impact on us. You know, I was explaining to you earlier, when I was younger, I used to want to eat the exact same meal before every performance. Now, there used to be, can I say the name of the shop? Yeah. So there was a Marks and Spencer's right next to the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden. So it must have been nearly a decade, I would go and buy the exact same risotto. For nearly a decade?
Yeah,
it was a mushroom risotto, very simple. And if the show was 7:30, I would have to eat it or heat it up at 4 o'clock. Okay. So I would watch the clock, and as soon as it hit 4 o'clock, boom, put it in the microwave, and I would eat the same risotto every performance at the Royal Opera House stage. It became a thing.
And that's because in your head, this was the food that worked best with your body at the right time.
Well, I think it was just me trying to take some sort of control. Because realizing that live theatre, human body, there's actually very little you can control over it. And when you think about a performance, for example, us at the Royal Ballet on the Royal Opera House stage, yes, you can prepare and rehearse and do everything, but there's an orchestra with a conductor who's also human, so it's always different.
Yeah.
There are lights, there are costumes, there are dancers you're dancing with who are also human. There are so many factors. The air conditioning is different that night, so when the curtain opens, that rush of cold air that's hit you is something you just didn't rehearse with,
my
and
God.
suddenly it affects your body differently.
Yeah.
You then have children. You're lucky if you get 2 hours sleep, or you're emotionally so invested in one of your children because they're going through something. That naturally just takes its toll on you.
Yeah.
There's 101 million factors that all of us, all of you people who are getting ready for this marathon, are also dealing with on a daily basis. So I think I just tried to take control of something, which was eating the food. The ironic thing was I would be on a plane regularly performing in other countries where obviously there was no Marks and Spencers, but I very quickly found another alternative, which was you had to have a spaghetti bolognese at the hotel or the local Italian restaurant, wherever I was.
My God.
But it's a phenomenal how our brains justify things and I guess create this sense of calm when you are in a heightened sense. And you know, for the people listening to this who are running maybe for the first time and feeling that maybe this marathon is really far away in terms of where they are at right now, I would encourage them to obviously just look at where they've come from, where they started this journey. It'll be a shock. They'll go, oh, actually, I've made so much progress. And the end goal isn't the marathon this year. This is something you could be doing for the long run. No pun intended there. And I just think find few little moments where you can take some sort of control, which is having the discipline to say, right, this is my program and I'm going to stick to it as much as I can. But also have the bravery to listen and really listen to your body. When that body is saying today's just not the day, maybe listen to that, because most of the world will tell you to push through. No, you got to do it. You got to push. It's not always the right answer. And many people will say, oh, but then aren't I being lazy? Or those people are just lazy because they haven't pushed through. I'm starting to think that actually they're just smart. And they're listening to their body, because a lot of the times when you do say, I'm just going to push through,
that's when
you're going to strain something, hurt something, tweak something. And obviously that then pushes you back. So having the courage to sometimes say, today's not the day. Obviously, if you realize 8 days in a row you're saying today's not the day,
and there's biscuits next to you,
exactly.
And you're on your 4th episode of the new Netflix documentary.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the reality is, those of you who are listening to this and who have signed up, you're setting yourself these goals, these targets. None of you are lazy people. You are not lazy, so get rid of that word. If you have an afternoon off, you skip a day, just believe that what you're doing is the right thing. By having a rest, it's recovery. And recovery is a skill. It's something that we actually also have to train. So, take a load off sometimes.
Talking about load, for the men in your profession, and increasingly more the ladies as well, the jumping, the stress on the joints, what are the kind of, because actually it's not too dissimilar, so you know, this in the run, it's ankles, knees, hips and back. Are you
I've had them all injected and everything's been done to them. There's nothing real anymore. My lower limbs.
No, these things, they're not mine. Don't be ridiculous. Because I know that there are things, and actually in last week's episode we went to see a really amazing, you'd love him, called Dr. Paul Bryce, who runs a biomechanics lab in Oxfordshire, and he worked with Team GB for London 2012, and we were doing some jumping on the plates, not for quite the same reason. So how do you as a dancer then, how are dancers' knees and ankles looked after? What are the kind of things that you do to kind of make sure that the load going through the pressure going through those joints to keep them strong and healthy?
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I don't want to quote it because I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but it's something like 6 or 7 times your body weight goes through your joints when we're doing some of our jumps.
Wow.
Which, I mean, if you just do a one-off jump, you think, okay, wow, that's a lot of shock to take. But if you look at a dancer's day, some dancers are doing over 500 or 600 contacts a day. So that's
one of
jumps.
Okay.
Like a contact is a jump.
Wow.
Athletes would do far less because in the world of sports science and all of that is far more advanced and implemented into the way a training schedule is put together.
Okay.
So it's monitored of, how do we, spread out that load? Whereas in the dance world, that's still a very new concept.
Okay.
So you have dancers that spike and have insane amounts of contact times each day.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't mean that the next day is a down day. It's a 6-day week thing. So it's still learning and trying to get the culture and the industry to reconfigure how weeks, months, seasons are put together and how that workload is spread out within a company and all of that. But that's a bigger conversation.
Do you know, I've just had a great solution. You know what we need to do? We need to get your salaries up to football salary level.
Oh, please.
And then they'd look after you.
Yeah.
Then they'd be like that. No, he's worth 30 million quid.
Yeah.
He's not doing nothing today.
Yeah.
You let him sit down. God.
But it is incredible that the world of sports science obviously is teaching us a lot. So a lot of dancers now are getting involved with strength training. So it's very common to see a beautiful ballerina squatting God knows how much weight on her back.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Well, it's all those ridiculous old stigmas of as soon as you touch a weight, you're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I mean,
100%.
No one could ever look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It doesn't matter how much you train. So it's just encouraging people that, just because you pick up a weight doesn't mean you're going to look like a bodybuilder.
Of course not. And I think that's a really important message to get through to women in particular. Lots of women in particular who are running as well.
Yeah.
That the traditional perception of successful runners, and there are still lots of successful runners that are tall and lean.
Yeah.
And they're that's genetics more than anything. But I think the traditional perception of a dancer, long and lean, traditional dancer of a runner, long and lean, and I think for women generally who have been we were brought up to kind of go, well, you either do sport because you're competitive, so you have to win, or you do sport to lose weight, and that's our first interactions with sport. As a young kid and then as a teenager in your early 20s, that's why you do sport. And now the conversation is about strength to help us live better for longer.
Well, we know that strength training is good for bone health. So picking up a weight, doing exercises, especially as a woman, is great for your bone health. So those of you who are embarking on this marathon, keep going at it. Even if you don't achieve the marathon this year, you're extending your well-being, you're investing in your own future. And it doesn't matter what stage you're at, whether you've achieved to run 1 mile or you've done the full marathon, you're investing in your well-being. And I think that is a message that hopefully is coming through more and more. You don't do sport because you want to lose weight or you want to win gold. You do sport because you want to be healthy. You want to live an active life. You don't have to be the gold medalist. You don't have to be the image in your head of what you think that athlete's meant to look like.
Yeah.
It's your well-being.
Okay. So 2 more things. Flexibility is also something that we're starting to talk about more as well in running. I feel like we're not on the same flexible level as the dancers, but in terms of keeping you mobile, your mobility, what are the things that you might do every day to keep yourself moving that you could transfer to a rookie?
Honestly, I mean, obviously you see dancers in extreme positions, legs around their ears and all this sort of stuff, and some of the ballerinas I get to work with, I still am in awe of the positions they can get into. But my own general sort of way of preparing the body in terms of flexibility, or I don't even like to use that word anymore, it's just mobility,
right? Okay.
Is very generic, and it's stuff that everybody can do. You would literally see me on the floor laying on my back, just rocking my knees side to side in small movements, but those small movements are actually just protecting you for life. So we've all done it. We've all bent down to pick up a bit of Lego
And
or something, and then you suddenly go, oh,
yeah,
what happened there? And those simple mobility circuits that don't take much time, you don't need equipment, are actually really super helpful, whether you're a principal dancer on the Royal Ballet or you're someone who's learning to run for the first time.
Stephen, I'm going to just take you back now to, because I think let's just park the calf for a minute.
Yep.
Let's park the car for a minute, because she says, in a trying not to sound like a massive stalker way, I was, and it was by coincidence, I hadn't clocked it, and I was so glad that it was. You came back to the stage for Romeo and Juliet, and I was in the audience when you danced for the first time back. I mean, it makes me quite like, because you could hear the gasp.
Yeah.
You could hear the gasp when you came on stage. How fast was your heart racing? What was that moment like when, after all this hard work, you managed to walk back on stage into that auditorium? Look at your face is just lit up, just like remembering it.
It was an extraordinary evening. It was, as I said, it was almost 2 years to the day of when my Achilles had snapped to running back on stage as Romeo. And if I'm really honest, I was stood in the wings. Romeo runs on like with a big cape and all this other stuff. And it's not just a run on stage. You have to run from the back of the set, which is a whole huge staircase. You have to climb these stairs backstage and then run downstairs. So my entrance was, let's run downstairs with a long cape in front of 2,500 people and run with a new Achilles.
Give me a break. I
was like, can I just bypass that and just sort of, here I am, guys. No, you have to run down the stairs. So I was stood backstage looking at this staircase that I had to climb up, thinking, surely if I just ran away and got in a cab and went home, the audience wouldn't be angry. They'd totally understand.
I don't know.
Would be like, poor guy, he cracked under the pressure. And so I genuinely had a moment of, like, I know I've done all this work, but is it enough? I don't know if it's enough. And then I had to just say to myself, you are enough. You are enough. Just to walk on that stage is enough. Is it going to be the greatest show of your life? No, because it takes so long to get back to a level that you, I don't know, maybe are proud of, or that you feel like you can genuinely let go and be free. But I had to just go on there knowing that it was so much more than just me. It was a huge statement to every young dancer in the world, saying, you're going to have these challenges, these huge injuries, but look, this one was meant to wipe me out, and I'm here. So I realized that when I stepped on the stage, I didn't prepare. I'd worked with psychologists and my medical team and everybody, but I hadn't prepared for, I guess, the level of warmth from the audience, because they applauded on the entrance, and it seemed to just go on. And it was, I guess, as much a moment for the audience as it was for me. And then it hit me, because I felt this lump in my throat, and I was like, no, you can't get emotional now. Like, I just wanted the audience.
Juliet's still alive.
We've got 3 hours to get through. Like, let's see if I can make it first. And I got overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed that I actually started to cramp. My whole body started to cramp within like the first 5 minutes of being on stage.
Oh, good Lord.
There was such a cocktail of
sure.
emotions and
imagine.
toxins and all sorts going through my body. So it was just navigating that, really. And again, it just goes back to the simple example that you can prepare for something as much as you want. You can be as diligent and disciplined and do everything in your control, but there'll always be something that is out of your control. And we have to just have the tools to be able to deal with those things. Sometimes we deal with them really well. Sometimes we're crap at dealing with them. But that work, the training your runners are doing, the strength training they're doing, the rest days that they're giving themselves, all of that is providing them tools to be able to adapt.
Just perfect, as always. I'm going to leave it at that. If you want to watch Steven's journey back to that stage. It is a gorgeous programme, Dancing Back to the Light. It's available to watch on the BBC iPlayer. It's extraordinary. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And it's such an inspirational story. And I think, I needed this. I hope if you're listening, you needed it too. But thank you so much.
I wish you all the best, and
we will see you on a stage.
Listeners.
We will see you on a stage very, very, very soon.
You will.
Thank you so much to the incredible Steven McRae. What a delight he is. And of course, you can see that documentary, Dancing Back to the Light. It's available on the BBC iPlayer. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to Simon and to Lisa and to Stacey, who have got in touch with me via my Virgin Radio show that I do 10 till 2, Monday to Friday, because they got in touch to say that they take us with them when they're on their long runs. And that's gorgeous. That's literally all of our dreams come true. So thank you very much for letting us know. Coming up, some amazing guests, absolutely amazing guests. Comedian Zoe Lyons, who's absolutely hysterical. Really looking forward to her coming in. She is a runner. She completed the London to Brighton Ultra Challenge with her brother, which is a whopping 62 miles. I'm not quite sure how that's possible. Also, Hugh Brasher is coming in to chat to us. Now, if that name rings a bell, it's because he is the London Marathon director and has been for a really, really long time. So to get some time with him ahead of the marathon is an absolute privilege. I can't wait. Also, we're going to be talking to Vernon Thomas. Vernon is, I was going to say young man Vernon Thomas. I mean, he is in his head. He's 82 years old, right? And the reason why we're going to talk to him is because he ran the very first London Marathon back in 1981 and he still has his medal. And we're going to chat to him because he still runs now competitively about what that first marathon was like. Absolutely incredible. So please let us know how your training's going. As always, any wobbles, any twinges, anything that's not feeling right. If you need a little bit of encouragement, all your wins as well, what you're doing that is making this go well for you, you can message me here. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, or you can WhatsApp us on +44 333 00 333 00. Thank you for all of your messages. It's honestly, we've got a really nice little thing going here. It's really nice to hear from you. And please share this with anybody else who you think it might be useful for, if they need some inspiration on their runs. And I will catch you every weekday, Monday to Friday, 10 till 2 on Virgin Radio. And here for the next episode of I Can Run a Marathon. And so can you.